Hi class, welcome to Education 512 Structured Groups. The purpose of this video, it's actually going to be a two-part video, but the purpose is to go over the structured group facilitation, which you will bring a rough draft to class, but then also be presenting later in our week together. So let me just start again by giving you an introduction of the template part of the assignment, and then I'll post a second video or have a second video available for the rubric part and how I'm going to be grading. And we can talk specifically, about some of those things in class as well. But the first thing, to open up the assignment and look at those two parts, you'll first log into LiveText, again, which you'll visit livetext.com, type in your username and password, and then log in. Then what should come up, your first screen, should be your dashboard, which should have your course listed, your 512 course listed. If you click on the course and then click on the assignments tab, then your assignments should show up, which again, we're going to be looking at the structured group facilitation assignment. And in that assignment, you'll see again two documents, a template and then the rubric. So let's start with the template. There, after you open the template, you'll see 5 components. The needs and goals and objectives. Needs, goals, and objectives are component 1. Component 2 is the research. Number 3 is the ethical, legal, multicultural section. Number 4, the program evaluation. And number 5 is the scholarly writing. In component 1, and this, I'm going to talk about 2 different things here. 1, what I would expect you to bring in your rough draft, but 2, what I would expect kind of as a whole as well. But for component 1, I would like you to have identified at least 2 data sources for your rough draft. And then of course we can talk more specifically, and if you establish those now, then of course that will help you meet objective 1 even when you turn it in as a final project. But the 2 data sources, there are really 2 areas I'd like to draw your attention to, and you could possibly use these two to finish that section or finish that part of component 1. The first is our peer-reviewed journal articles, and I would encourage you to begin looking at journal articles by thinking about the filters that you can apply to finding journal articles. So of course the first filter is the type of group that you're going to be facilitating. If it's a study skills group or a career or college group or a bullying group, again, that's a filter that you can apply in order to find journal articles. The second would be a specific population you may want to work with. Maybe you want to work with elementary students. Maybe you want to work with middle or high school. Maybe you want to work with a certain ethnic group. So I would encourage you to look at those and apply those. Maybe you want to look at gender, a specific gender, and use those to help filter down and find specific articles related to that population, which can again narrow down and kind of hone in on again your specific group. The whole point for identifying data sources is to answer the question, is there a need for this group? And so you're using the data sources to find that there is a need, hopefully, for your group. And you can use, again, research and peer-reviewed articles to establish that need based on what researchers have said about that type of group or that specific population, that this is a need to increase academic achievement. The second type of data set or data source would be that I would encourage is trying to find a specific school that you may want to conduct your group in. Even though you're doing it as a mock group in this class, if you were going to be doing this as a school counselor or a practicing school counselor, then you could establish the need for your group by looking at the needs of the school specifically. So one way of finding that is to actually visit your Department of Education website or another state's Department of Education website and downloading the school report card. And that can be a great way of finding specific data that establishes a need for specific groups based on the discipline record or the attendance record or academic records to help establish that need. So a school report card could be a way to establish a need for your specific group. The next components or parts of component one are the overarching goal and the objectives. So I'd like for you to come in your rough draft to have an overarching goal established for based off the type of group that you're holding. So let's just say, or facilitating. So let's just say you are um, going to be doing a group on study skills. Well, one of the overarching goals is to have students become more um, academically motivated by increasing their information or their knowledge about study skills or different types of study skills. That's a good kind of model for an overarching goal because it's, again, broad enough where you could fit several different groups within that, and they can all be directly related or aligned, which is a word you'll hear me use a lot during class, but aligned with your overarching goal. So next, again, alignment with that comes down to the measurable objectives. So these are, again, specific um, objectives that you would like in session one and session two. For the purpose of the rough draft, I would encourage you just to focus on one session, not both at this point. You could if you have the time, but again, only focusing on one session, maybe the one that you will actually be facilitating would be best because then we can use that as a model and help in our discussion in class. So looking at one of your sessions, again, you're going to establish two measurable objectives. I think a big word there is measurable. We want to make sure that at the end of your group, we know that your students have achieved something. And we'll talk about measurement as we get to component 4, but we do want to make sure that they've achieved something. So as you're establishing your objectives, again, you're going to make two or have two. One will be a school counseling objective, one will be an academic objective, and those will, again, specifically align with your overarching goal and, again, add to making it measurable what students can learn. So let's just say that, again, we use the study skills, and one, your overarching goal is to help motivate or have students become more motivated, academically motivated learners by identifying or giving them information about their study skills, different types of study skills. In session one, you might have an introductory session where your students just define what study skills are, and you start having them identify and even process different types of study skills so that they can even know what you're even going to be talking about in later sessions. Again, that's direct alignment with your overarching goal because you're providing information to help them become potentially more academically motivated, if we use that example. But it also is something that could be measured, and that is either they learned what the definition of the study skills were and identifying them, or they didn't. And so it's totally, completely measurable, which again could feed right into your program evaluation where you identify or come up with a multiple choice question, if we use this example, that says something like, which of the following is a good study skill? A, B, C, and D, and you would have 3 wrong answers and 1 right answer. So then again, if they're identifying the correct one, then you know that they did meet that objective, that they were able to identify study skills that again was in alignment with that overarching goal. Having that down would be a great start to your rough draft. One more component to that, though, comes in component 2. And one thing I'd encourage you to start working on is your step-by-step process and activities that you're going to use during your group. The step-by-step process, for lack of a better analogy, would be very similar to a lesson plan for a teacher. Even though we're not teachers, we're school counselors. Again, one model that you could use would be very much like a lesson plan where you're going to map out what you're going to do to first capture attention, 2, present what you're going to do. So you preview what you're going to do, then you have the activities that are directly related, and then you review what you just did. And so again, using that kind of outline model can help you establish measurement of those goals and actual the process that you would go through in order to meet that that objective or those objectives for that session that you're going to be facilitating. The last part that I'd like to address, really we're going to jump down to component 4 for the sake of your rough draft, and those are, as you can tell, as the program evaluation part. And I've alluded to the pre-post test that you're going to establish. For the sake of your structured group, the one that you'll actually be presenting, you don't have to do the pre-post test for the group. However, for the sake of the structured group project that you'll be turning in, there will be pre-post test measures. And those are going to, again, directly align with your measurable objectives, which is aligned with your overarching goal. And the example that I gave previously, your overarching goal for a study skills group would be to help produce more academically motivated students by identifying different study skills. And then with your objective, it was one of those could be what's the definition of study skills or identifying what those study skills are. Again, the program evaluation, or the way that you would evaluate that, is provide a pre-post test that says which of the following is a good study skill, A, B, C, D. And when they identify, the whole goal is when they take it as a pre-test, you want them to miss it. You do not want them to get it right, with the hopes that when they take it the second time as a post-test after the group has ended, that session is ended, then they do get it correct, therefore showing that what you did actually helped them identify the learning, the study, the objective for the class or the session, which was to identify a study skill as one of your objectives. So to summarize, there are at least 5 things that you could be doing to prepare for your rough draft and for our first time together. First, identifying your data sources, again through the Liberty Library site through the Department of Education websites for either Virginia or your specific state, or other sources. Again, this is to establish the need for your group. I think the easiest way is to think about a specific school, grade level, and/or population you'd like to facilitate your group with. Therefore, you can apply those filters when you're searching for data sources. 2, of course, to write your overarching goal. 3, to identify 2 objectives that align with your goal. 4, identify 1 counseling standard, and I would go through ASCA's standards for students. If you Google search ASCA's standards for students, you'll pull up a PDF that will help you find those. And 1 academic standard, I would encourage you to go to the Common Core website or your state website to establish your state, to find your state standards that you may be able to use and align with. And then 5th is going to be to at least begin to write pre- and post-test questions that are objective and measure those 2 objectives that you wrote for, and for number 3. So I think that will help you get started, and of course will help increase our time together and just our efficiency for our time together. I think it'll also help in class discussion, so I am looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and we can talk specifically about each part of that. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon and working with you over the week we have together. Thanks.